What's happening, everybody? Hello, hello. Let's jump into this chat. Everyone introducing themselves. Who do we got joining us? We got some field trip action happening. I know who organized that field trip, Sheila. Oh, I gotta scroll all the way up. Holy moly! Lots of people in here. Hey, Kamal, Mark, what's happening? Yes, and I don't believe you. I know you said you're in Vancouver. My sister lives in Burnaby, and yeah, it's always raining. She always makes us jealous though, because it's always like the ocean and then mountains, and we don't get that here in Gatineau, Ottawa area. If everyone can hear me, just give a little thumbs up or a yippee in the chat. Yep, sweet. Hey Sheila and the Uvaro team. What up, Uvaro? Is there a Uvaro sign? Is it like you? Up, Uvaro? If you don't have one, you got to get one. Who else we got? Kamal. Is it Kamal or Kamal? Naomi's from Scarborough. What's happening? I used to live downtown Toronto in the Distillery District, not too far away. Played football when I was a kid. We played for Burlington, and we actually played against Scarborough Thunder. They're a huge rivalry of ours. But as actually, I like my best memory. One of my best memories of Scarborough is first time eating meat patties, Jamaican patties at the football field. I was like, first time I've ever had that. We didn't have that growing up in Waterdown, but those are my go-to snacks. I was really looking forward to it. Hey, what's up, Sheila? Roxy, Richard, hey all. Thanks for joining. We'll get started in a couple of minutes. We'll just a couple more people flowing through. Who else? Swada, hey. Yeah, I appreciate everyone saying hi, thumbs up. Where are you coming from? Where are you joining us from? I saw some Scarborough, some Vancouver, Canada, a giant a giant foam finger. I like that, Sheila. Where else are you coming in from? Rizal in the house. What up, Rizal? Pragya, hey. Swada, plus one to that, Drew. Plus one to what? I missed that. Oh, the patties. Yes. Yeah, for sure. Trying to follow along. Minneapolis. What's up, Jack? Home of the Vikings. Mrs. Saga. The Saga. I got two screens going. That's why I'm going back and forth. I'm trying to say hi to you and keep track of everybody in here. Cambridge, Oakville. Look at this. Canada in the house. Toronto. Love it. Home of disappointing football seasons. Oh, that's so great. I love it. Keep the chat going. I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. If you ever have any questions along the way, feel free to just pop them in there, or comments or feedback or whatever you feel like sharing. Throw it in there. Thanks so much for joining. Like I said, we'll get started in a couple minutes. Got an awesome jam-packed hour for you. We're going to be showing you how to build your sales playbook in 4 easy steps. These are the 4 steps that I've been working with my clients on for the past I've been kind of working on this for a bunch of years, but really honing it in the past year or so with a bunch of different clients. So whether you are a sales rep, which I'm sure some of you are, whether you're a founder, a sales leader, it's all applicable to you to help build and scale a sales team. So if you're a proactive sales rep, then awesome. Thanks for joining. If you're a founder, sales leader, thanks for joining. This is really going to set the foundation for your future sales teams. Yes, Mark, it is recorded and sent out. Rizzle, Pineapple Jack. I don't know what that means, but must be some sort of inside joke. I don't know if it's a saga thing or not. But yeah, everything here is going to be recorded. I'm going to have some worksheets I'm going to send out after. There's going to be some templates. So basically everything you have to build a sales playbook, and you'll get the recordings after. Absolutely. The whole idea is to be able to sit here, take some notes, absorb it all in, and then take it away, build your sales playbook, and you can do it yourself. And I got a secret special offer at the end if you want to take your sales playbook building to the next level. So, good absorbing, Naomi. I like it. Oh, pineapple. Pineapple is a sign of hospitality and welcoming. I like that. It's also an awesome topping on pizza, but let's not get into that because I feel like that's a whole nother webinar and it's going to blow up the chat. I'll see. There we go. The one thing you can't say on webinars is pineapple on pizza. People are either going to leave or they're going to stick around, or they're just going to start throwing darts at me. Here, let me share my screen and we can start jumping through some of this content. And I need you to give me a tell me if you can see the what I want you to see is like build your sales playbook in 4 easy steps, and then me in the bottom left. Do you see that? If you do, say yes. Give me a little yes in there. Sweet. So let's get into it. And like I said, anytime, feel free to pop in some comments. And I love the engagement already in the chat. You guys are awesome so far. You people are awesome. I'm not going to say you guys. Everybody is awesome. So what I want to do here is just this is my gift, this is my promise to you. What I want to do is share with you as much as I can, everything that I've learned about building sales playbooks. Share that with you today. Also give you all the resources, templates, so you have a head start instead of just kind of starting on your own. So I am Drew, Drew Williams. You saw maybe in the video. It's funny, I recorded that video on the registration page, and I wanted to say it's Drew, the sales playbook builder Williams, but I ended up just saying Drew, the sales playbook, which is fine, I guess. But anyway, I'm Drew, the sales playbook builder Williams. And yeah, I was career sales professional. My first job was at Career Builder Inside Sales, pumping out. We got the headset on, the big whiteboard, $15,000 quotas each month, putting on your headset, just dialing 100 phone calls a day, making 20 appointments, running um, five appointments a week. And it was pretty high pressure sales. Did that for a year, then went on to some outside territory sales with 3M and learned a lot there. Both of those jobs learned a whole lot about sales onboarding, training, sales playbooks, and creating sales enablement resources for organizations. From that, did a bunch of entrepreneurial things with myself as well as my brother, and then got into the world of startups and tech startups and SaaS startups, and just absolutely fell in love with it. Worked for a few different SaaS companies as our first sales hire. And it was a huge difference in terms of working for those Fortune 500 companies versus working for startups that were just getting off the ground, transitioning out of founder led sales, hiring their first sales rep, first couple sales reps. And it was just a big difference. That's what has led me to here as building sales playbook builder .com. So what I want to give you is not just a little pint of blueberries today, a pint of information. I want to just overflow you with as much as I can. Hopefully, we can get it all in the hour. So what I want to do is just give you as much content as I can, and just want to ask your permission for if you're up for a whole bunch of blueberries, a whole bunch of content. If you're into that, I want to see some blueberries in the chat. If it's okay, if we can keep going. Yes, blueberry pie works too. I actually had blueberry pie the other night. That's good. Thanks, Richard. Kamal's in. Sweet. And you found the blueberry emoji. It's like a blue dot, but that's okay. That works too, right? That's what blueberries are. And blueberry muffins, blueberry banana muffins. Would that be good too? Or loaves? Blueberry cheesecake. Okay, everyone stop it with the food references because now my mouth is watering. So why do you need a sales playbook, and like what the heck is a sales playbook? So you might have heard a little bit about it. You might have done some research online about sales playbooks. Essentially, the easiest way that I define it is, especially when you're looking at tech sales and you have a founder and salespeople, is that the founder's been doing the sales for a year, a couple of years. Everything that they've been doing is in their head, and you hire somebody, you hire a sales rep, a couple sales reps. Now you got to get that information out of their head and into the sales reps. So that's what the sales playbook is there to do, is to help translate everything that's in the founder's mind, that's in the sales leader's mind, that's been doing the job, into the new sales rep or new sales reps as they go. So it really sets the foundation for giving you, the founder or the sales leaders, confidence in transitioning out of founder-led sales, and also builds a real professional organization around sales at that early stage in your company, which is really important when you are scaling past 5 reps, 10 reps, 20 reps. When you're doing this at the very beginning, you're going to see a huge difference moving forward. So that's how I define sales playbooks. Nothing too complicated. So when I started at a couple of the companies that I was working at, I was basically given no playbook. I had a couple, I don't know, emails and a couple onboarding things that I did, but the SaaS companies that I worked at had a few elements of the sales playbook, but nothing was actually formalized in there. So I basically was hired. I was given a blank page. There was no real direction. It was, okay, here's our website. here's a slide deck, here's maybe one recording of a demo call, like go crazy. And I did go crazy. I didn't actually go crazy selling, but I did go crazy trying to figure out like what the heck I'll be doing, and that resulted like in a lot of misalignment and confusion amongst myself as a sales rep, as well as the sales leader and the founders that I was working for. And I've noticed that in the clients that I'm working with today is that if you don't have that alignment to that playbook that brings together what has been successful in the past and where the future of the company wants to go, then you're going to have misalignment, you're going to have miscommunication, you're going to have wasted, inefficient conversations, wasted time, and you're just not going to get to where you want to get to, because you need to have all this in a playbook in order for you to properly grow and download that information as the sales rep. So I was a lot of confusion, just kind of like paralysis by analysis, trying to figure out what to do. And so that made me realize that I must not be the only person out there experiencing that. There's thousands of startups, thousands of SaaS companies that are starting up, thousands of founders and sales reps out there that probably are feeling the exact same way that I am. So what I became passionate about is becoming an advocate for two main people. One is the sales reps who are entering into these SaaS companies and these early stage startups, advocating for professionalism for them, advocating for support and enablement resources to help them become successful. Because here's a secret: salespeople are not magic. There's nothing magical about them other than just being magical human beings, but there's no magic secret sauce that they bring with them in their back pocket. And when you hire a sales rep, all of a sudden, boom, poof, it happens. So they need support, they need help, they need enablement resources, they need marketing resources, they need scripts, they need kind of direction, they need to understand who the ideal customer profile is, all those sorts of things. So I'm here advocating on behalf of the sales reps to make them successful, to make you successful in your journey, and also for founders and sales leaders, and especially founders who don't have a huge background in sales. You might be a technical founder, you might come from a marketing background, you might come from any other background other than sales, and sales seems a little bit overwhelming, mystical. You might have some conceptions of what sales might look like. So what I want to do with these sales playbooks is help you gain the confidence to transition out of founder-led sales, as well as be confident in talking about sales, be confident in directing a sales team, and be confident in directing and scaling your team in the future. So what I ended up doing was realize that I just in my jobs I just started building these sales playbooks from scratch, and I was doing that. I didn't mind doing it, but it was extremely inefficient because I was hired to sell, and I ended up having to sell and document the process and build systems as I was doing it. So when I was hired as a sales rep, I wasn't selling within the first month or second month or third month. It it was taking a whole lot longer because we didn't have anything in place to support in my sales. So when I was thinking of advocating for sales reps and advocating for those founders, how can I best do that? So how can I best serve you as a salespeople and you as founders? Well, here to be your guide along that journey to help build that sales playbook. And that's really what's exciting about what I'm up to today and what I'd love to share with you. If you want to pop in the chat, just curious. I know we know where people are from, that people love blueberry pies and blueberry muffins, which is awesome. But are you either a sales rep, a founder, or a sales leader? Pop that in the chat, and if you have any questions, you can always pop them in there too. So Rizal, is that Rizal? That's a great question. The question was: sounds like playbooks are being used in every other industry under different names, SOPs, job aids in restaurants. Yeah, so like playbooks could be interchangeable with SOP, standard operating procedures, manuals. There is like crossover in terms of the languages, so you can kind of think of them in that way. The unique thing about sales playbooks is that because sales is so dynamic and it's changing, products change, customer changes, the environment changes, is that sales playbooks aren't a manual you create and you just put on the shelf and say every time, you just keep it for 10 years. It's something that is revamped and looked at multiple times during the year, maybe monthly or quarterly. So it's a dynamic um, dynamic document. let's say. Cool. Yeah, some first outbound sales rep. Awesome, Mark. Yeah, building the sales playbook from scratch. Can imagine it's probably a lot of heavy lifting right now. Swiss Army knife type of human being, Richard Roy. Love it. I feel like any entrepreneurs, founders, you kind of have to be a Swiss Army knife person type of person. Awesome. Some salespeople. Roxy plumbing fixture sales. Sweet. Kamal, multifaceted, a leader, but to be like water is the ultimate goal. What do you mean, Jack? To be like water. Harpreet, just at Uvaro, awesome. You're gonna love Uvaro. It's an amazing program. You're gonna get jobs, no problem. Um, IT project manager, awesome. So it's great, good cross section of everybody here. Let's keep it moving. So what we're here to talk about are the four steps of building a sales playbook. So we got audit, align, assemble, accelerate, and at the heart of that is your ideal customer profile. Before we dissect those four pieces, we got to really look at the sales process and look at it from prospecting all the way to closing, because we can't really audit what we have unless we know what we do have. So let's have a look at what that sales process might look like and how you can map that out to be really effective in order to build your sales playbook. So at the beginning, I show that slide of just sitting at a desk or like the empty playbook. And when you think of your sales process from start to finish, from prospecting to discovery to demo, handing it off to CS, and then finally close one, close lost. Hopefully they're all closed one, and then handing it off to the customer service team. If you don't have that process, if you don't have that kind of visualized and mapped out as a sales rep, you're kind of frozen. You're not sure what the next step is. And I remember actually in one of my first jobs, I was we didn't have a sales playbook, and I remember I was doing some prospecting. We had the CRM was all built up, so I'm going through the process, and I made a phone call, did a little discovery and demo on the call, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to sign up," and I was like, "Sweet." And I was sitting in a shared office space in Toronto. The founder was sitting right beside me. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll call you back, because I had no idea what the next step was in terms of closing. So I hung up and then turned to the founder and said, okay, well, like, how do we close them? Like, what's the next step? And so literally you just are frozen in time, and you don't want to have that experience, because obviously you're slowing down the sales process and not getting to the sale, which is where you want to get to. Luckily they did close and they answered my phone call back, but I might not be so lucky, or somebody else might not be so lucky in the future. So what you really want to see is, like, as a sales rep and as a founder creating this sales process and mapping it out, then you see kind of a more fluid, fast-paced movement from a sales rep's perspective, because you're getting them from prospecting to closing faster, because they're anticipating, they're seeing the next step, and they're able to move prospects along that journey. So first thing that we do, and so in this exercise, you're going to get these worksheets as part of the follow up and part of the recording. So a great exercise to start right away. So whether you're a sales rep or you're a founder looking to build out that sales team, the first thing you want to do is take whatever sales process you have. So just like close your eyes for a second, think about your sales process right now, from prospecting, whether it's outbound or inbound, to responding to emails, to booking calls, to qualifying, to booking demos, to then closing proposals. All these like little tiny steps, you might have them in your head, but what you really want to do, and what you'll be doing after this as part of the exercise, is to just map that out. So if we take a look at prospecting, so this, you might, like I said, you might have inbound, you might have outbound leads, and then they're going to go into some sort of inquiry, which then lead into, let's say, a discovery call, demo, and then hopefully they're all excited. They're asking for a proposal. You get to close, and then the CS handoff. So when you map these out, it gives you a visual of start to finish, and it also allows you to think, okay, well, If we do a discovery and a demo call, well, maybe the discovery call is, or maybe right now we're not doing a discovery and demo, we're just doing them both at once. And it's taking 45 minutes to an hour. Maybe what we want to do is split those up into a discovery and a demo call. So maybe we want to do a 15-minute discovery call. And then if they are qualified, move them into a demo. So this gives you an opportunity to see your sales process from start to finish and also kind of dissect what is working and what is not working. And again, this gets you onto the same page so that you're not in the situation that I was where, okay, I did the demo, but then I didn't know what the next step was. So I ended up having to hang up the phone and then call the prospect back. You don't want your reps doing that. You want to be able to take what's in your head or in another learning management system somewhere and get that documented into a proper process. Next step is, so now we went through the process. The next step that you want to do is take a look at your sales enablement resources that are going to align with those different steps. So I'm going to scroll back up to this slide here. So in this section, what you want to do is think about what enablement resources do you need to provide your sales reps, or you as a sales rep, what do you want to have at each of these different stages? So let's say if we're looking at this inquiry piece, right? So inquiry, all I mean is just there's an email that came in, someone's interested, a prospect is interested in in the product. So in this case, you might want to have let's say, email templates built in. And if you don't have the email templates, you might have been just sending them out yourself, or you might have them somewhere saved in your sent inbox or your sent box or your inbox. You want to take those and be able to document them. And if you don't have them, you want to start creating those in a document somewhere so that you have those. When you look at discovery demo, do you have scripts? Do you have recorded calls? Another great thing that you want to have in these discovery and demo pieces is looking at, let's say, objection handles. So really two steps, right? We've mapped out the sales process. Now we're looking at what resources can we provide our sales team in order for them to be successful, in order for them to reply, in order for them to do their job properly and effectively so that they're moving the sale from inquiry to discovery to demo to proposal. So once you've looked at the sales process, you've looked at your sales enablement resources, the next step, what you want to look at when you're building out this sales process is looking at the KPIs. So key performance indicators, metrics, whatever you want to call them, so that you can add these to your sales playbook. So we're going to go back up to this one again. So for prospecting, you might want to be looking at, let's say, does anybody have any ideas for, let's say, some KPIs or metrics that you're either being measured on right now or that you've thought of or seen? So, what kind of metrics are you being measured on right now as a sales rep or as a founder? What are you measuring sales reps at right now? Let's throw it into the chat. 1,200 touch points per month. So, if we're looking at here, let's say touch points, outreaches turn into connections. So, another one, this is kind of like, let's say, conversions. Deals, demo books. Yeah, these are all great metrics that you want to put in essentially underneath each one of those stages so that you're keeping track of all these. Let's put number of demos booked or booked, demos booked activity. Yeah, exactly. So there's lots of different metrics that you can look at when you're going through this sales process. So again, first step, map out the sales process. Second step, look at the enablement resources that align with each stage. Third step, assign some KPIs to be monitored on a monthly basis or weekly basis or daily basis, depending on your cadence. One of the clients I worked with fairly recently was Joe at Gorilla. She's a founder. It's a SaaS company for um, universities and colleges. They do online behavioral or online experiments. So instead of doing experiments in person, they're able to do it online. And as you can imagine, their business blew up during COVID because there's no longer in person experiments. So they've been doing awesome. So they wanted to map out their sales process because they had a couple part time. So I'm just laughing because I saw Rizzle found the gorilla emoji. I love that. Um, so they wanted to really get their sales process nailed down because they had a couple of people that were working part time on sales, customer service, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So what we did was actually map out what that sales process looked like, and it really streamlined the process, allowed Joe and the two salespeople to get on the same page and really visualize and maximize the efficiency during that sales process. And then we're able to build a sales playbook out of that. So really, it's all about having a shared direction from the founder to the sales reps to the entire team, so that everybody's kind of working from that same map, making the same turns, and you can always review it and go back and improve at any time um, as you're improving the sales process. So now we got the sales process nailed down. What we're going to do is kind of unlock the sales process. And really now we can look at the audit, align, assemble, and accelerate. But as you can see, what's in the middle of it is the ideal customer profile. And if you love your customers, then can you put a little heart emoji in the chat? I want to see that. Because like at the end of the day, customers, they're the heart of your sales playbook. They're also the heart of your business. They're also the people who you want to be listening to on a daily basis. They're the ones that you want to really understand deeply and create empathy with, because the more you can get in their heads, the better you understand them, the better you can serve them, but the better you can anticipate their needs. I love how everyone has different heart emojis. I mean, there's a couple there. Um, that's so fun. Yes, your favorite, eh, Naomi? I like those. Richard, you got one. You caught with the emoji heart eyes. So when we think of ideal customer profiles, all your customers are going to be, let's say, the same but different. So you can look at all these eggs as eggs, but each one of them is slightly different. And it's really important to understand as a founder, when you're letting your salespeople know who your ideal customer profile is, they need to a level of understanding that you have. So think, if you're a founder, you've been working in this industry maybe your whole life, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 1 year, but you have such a deep understanding of who your ideal customer profile is. And when sales reps get hired and they come into an organization, they might have a general idea of who the ideal customer profile is, but the more you can empower them with the knowledge of who that ideal customer profile is, how they think and they feel, the much better they are going to be about having proper conversations with them, having relatable, empathetic conversations with them. So, how do you kind of get an understanding of the ICPs? Sorry, Harpreet. Yeah, so ICP, ideal customer profile. So user persona. Yeah, Harpreet asked, is ICP similar to user persona? There's lots of different names for it. You can call it, yeah, ideal customer profile, user persona, buyer persona. Just kind of like, it's jargon. So whatever you use internally, use it. I'm using ideal customer profile as a general overview. We go into the worksheet, it'll kind of make sense a little bit more. But yeah, you can interplay some of those different terms. So how do you get into the shoes of your ideal customer profile of people that you are serving on a daily basis as a founder, as a sales rep? It's really getting deep and having a deep understanding of who they are, getting in their heads, jumping in their shoes, understanding what they do on a daily basis, how they think, act, and feel. And again, I keep using this word empathy, but it's really is important to be able to connect in a really deep way with your customers, because you're always able to stay one step ahead of them. So I like to think of ideal customers, ideal customer profile. I think what you see a lot in terms of ideal customer profile is, I think of it as an iceberg. So you have this like tip of the iceberg, and the tip of the iceberg, typically what you're seeing is, let's say, industry, geography, and maybe, let's say, industry, geography, maybe size of company. that sort of thing. So it's fairly generic. So if you had one of the companies I worked for was a SaaS company for daycares. So if I'm looking at the ideal customer profile, it was looking at daycares that had it was a daycare owner in Canada, and that was it. That was kind of the ideal customer profile. So that's fine. But when you think of like digging deeper, imagine knowing not just the size of an industry, but you start thinking of these ideal customer profiles as people and not just, let's say, as customers. So what's their day look like? What's their day to day? Do they have lots of time to chat with sales reps? Are they super busy? Are there people coming in and out of their office every single day? Where do they hang out? I'm not advocating going and hanging out where they're hanging out all the time if it was a corner Starbucks or something like that, but thinking of conferences, online forums, different places where they are, so that you can get a better understanding of who they are. What are they? What are their aspirations? Let's say, where do they want to get to? Where do they want to grow? If you're selling to a VP of sales, do they eventually want to be president? If you're selling to a business analytics person, do they want to be head of their department? Do they want to open their own business analytics? Are these the type of ideal customer profiles that you're looking to go to? So I encourage you to think of your ideal customer profile beyond just kind of the tip of the iceberg and looking at um, something a little bit deeper. So a couple question here from Rizzle is being dynamic, curious. Where do you see the most part of the playbook gets adjusted? Right. So I guess the question, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rizzle, is since the playbook is not a static document, it's something that's updated and continuously changed. The question is like, which part gets updated the most? I'm assuming that's what it is. What I would say is it depends. Depends on your company, depends on the industry, depends on the current environment. So let's say, for example, you had a sales playbook that you built last January. February, March came last year. COVID hit. I think you should readjust your playbook. If you were selling to gym owners, let's say, then you're probably not going to get a whole lot of business. So you need to adjust your playbook according to who your ideal customer profiles are, or you might be changing the pitch, you might be changing the emails that you're sending out, you might be changing your discovery, you might be changing your product to reflect the, let's say, the gym owner's online presence now. So then you might change your product and change your demo or your messaging. So it really just depends on um, your business and depends on where the company is going. So when we're looking at building out the ideal customer profile, so there's another template that you'll get. This is the ideal customer profile builder. So this is going to take you deeper beneath the surface to understand who that ideal customer profile is. So let's say we take the example of the daycare owners that I was talking about. So what you're going to do here, so we have three different rows, and we'll go through them similarly to what we did with the sales process. So when we're looking at building out an ideal customer profile, that's a lot deeper than surface level. So target organization. So this is something that we're looking at fairly general. And so target organization, let's say daycare or daycane. Target person. So this is kind of when you're getting into the, like, let's say buyer persona or target persona, ideal customer person, whatever you want to call it. So the in this case, the target person is going to be we want to target somebody who is actual buyer. So the director or the manager or ideally the owner of the daycare, depending on the size of them. And then we think of what's a day in their life. So now you can think of, and if you don't know, ask the founder if you're going through this, or if you are the founder, really close your eyes and think about what is a day in the life of a director of a daycare like. Because when you're calling them up or you're emailing them, you're part of that day. So how are you going to stand out? How are you going to empathize with them? How are you going to communicate them during their day? So if you're a director or manager of a daycare, it's pretty busy. It's pretty chaotic. There's a lot going on. So it's chaotic, It is busy. They probably don't have very much time to chat. Naomi said they're probably in need of coffee. Absolutely right. I have a 2 year old. Well, he's turning 2 in a couple of weeks over Easter weekend. So we're gonna have a balloon party. He's really asking for a balloon party. But really exciting. So yeah, I can relate to that. We definitely need some coffee during the day when he's home on the weekends. And then we move on to current environment. So how's this current environment affecting daycares? So in our case, our SaaS product was connecting the teachers and the daycares with families at home, because 2 year olds and 3 year olds don't come home from daycare and talk to you about what they did during the day. So this was a method of communicating with them. So in this current environment with COVID, wow, it's a great opportunity to sell to them, because the current environment is going to be, let's say, less interaction with family, because families can't come into the daycares and can't come out of the daycare. So think about how the current environment is affecting those those target customers, and then provide some examples of those profiles on LinkedIn. So then when you're bringing on the new sales reps, they can understand who this ideal customer profile is, go pop into LinkedIn, see a few examples, and really, again, do some research on their own about who that person is. Next column that we're looking at is more understanding, let's say, the pains and problems, how urgent they are, how frequent they feel those pains. So this is kind of getting outside of just who they are and what they do on a daily basis, and really kind of getting into this, like digging into what the business case is for you selling to them. So when we look at pains, problems, and values, some of the pains that they have is, let's say, lack of communication with families. And let's just go through this one. Are they aware of the pain? Yeah, they definitely are aware of the pain. And is it urgent? Yeah, I would say it's pretty urgent. So then you kind of prioritize these pains based on how urgent you think they are. And that way you can prioritize your communication. You can create messaging as well as scripts around these sorts of pain points, depending on how urgent they are. And they're experiencing this every single day. So you enter it there. And then looking at the values, either of like business side and personal side. And then when we look at the personal side, like what do these ideal customer profiles, what do they do? What do these daycare managers, what do they say? What do they think? What do they feel? I mean, they're probably, not probably, I know that they're extremely caring, they're loving, they're very driven and selfless. So these are all characteristics that'll help you communicate with them. And then the third piece of this is really just kind of understanding their buying process, but also like their aspirations and kind of where they hang out, to that kind of bottom part of the iceberg that we were talking about. So once you've got all those filled in, then you have a better idea of who that ideal customer profile is, and um, who and how you're going to be talking to them. Sheila had a question here. Let me just take a look. I got to scroll down. Oh, Sheila, I worked at Hi Mama. That was my first job, my first SaaS job. Um, read more. So the question was, with an early stage team working with a product that has a wide range of use cases, is there best advice for focusing a small team on an ICP within one industry versus an ICP with 2 to 3 interesting, and dividing the team's focus? So what I would say in that case, I mean, trying to understand the question is, so if you had a product that's has a many different use cases, how do you kind of nail that down, and do you divide your team up into focusing on the ICPs? I would say, yeah, it depends on your team, depends on how big they are. I'm imagining that we're talking about a fairly smaller team, let's say. And you have to be, just think of it, if you're in an early stage, you have limited resources, limited budget, limited time, limited energy. So anytime you can be as hyper focused and hyper relevant as you can, that's what you should be doing. So I would say that's the answer, is just, if you have a huge use case, I would say let's narrow it down to understanding exactly who that ideal customer profile is, and really get a deep understanding of the customer that we want to sell to today, that is going to be buying our product tomorrow, as opposed to saying, yeah, we'll just send out a million emails to a million different people and hopefully that we'll just get some traction. It's no, find out those, in my case, the daycares that are, let's say, in Canada, the ones that are not just that they have like one or two locations, but they have like, they're forward thinking, they care about communication with parents, they care about technology, they see the value of technology in a daycare. And that's when I would just keep focused as much as you can, because again, you just have like incredibly limited amount of time and energy. Meenal has a question. Is it advisable? I missed it. Can you write it again? I think it was. I think it was deleted or something like that. Can you just type your question in again, Meenal, and I'll get to it. Sorry about that. Yeah, just to close out ideal customer profiles. Worked with Ryan at Body Shop Booster. They had a pretty general. They had a SaaS company um, for body shops and collision repair companies to help them drive leads and close in on some estimates. And they had a pretty general ideal customer profile, like a body shop owner in the United States that does over $1 million, which is fine. But at the end of the day, you want to be a lot more targeted because again, you just have limited resources. So we found out that the body shop owners that are a little bit older, that don't care about technology, that don't have any aspirational growth opportunities or aspirations of growth, they weren't the right ideal customer profile. So even though they fit like that top of iceberg, you want to be digging a little bit deeper because you're thinking of qualifying them, because you want to get people on the demo who are going to be buying sooner than later. In the answer tab, okay, I see it. Let's go back to Mino's question. Is it advisable to interview some of your ideal customer profiles before writing out the details in your sales playbook? Yes, absolutely. That's an awesome suggestion. Awesome question. Do early stage startups do that, or is it based on internet research primarily? If you can interview your ideal customer profiles, if you can interview customers, so if you're the founder, if you're the owner, the sales leader, and you can identify some customers that want to have a chat with you, yeah, have a conversation with them, ask them some of these questions, ask them how their day is, where they hang out, what conferences do they like to go to, what books do they read. That's the best way, is talking to your customers instead of guessing. So yeah, absolutely, great question, and great thinking there. So when you do get the ideal customer profile right, you're going to be leading the way as opposed to following and having your customers um, instead of guessing. So you're going to be able to anticipate their needs, show them the way, as opposed to kind of chasing them and figuring out if it's the right way. So we got our ideal customer profile down. If you're into, so we talked about the surface level, we talked about the deeper level. If you think, and if you're like excited as the next step to go from just surface level to deep, we keep talking about empathy. So why don't you just pop in empathy in the chat if you are ready to go into that deeper level of understanding of ideal customer profile. We see some empathy popping in there. Richard, attaboy. Chioma, it's Chioma. Hope it's right. How do you factor in cultural differences when it comes to ICP? I think you just think about it, and again, ask your customers, ask the people who you think are your ideal customer profile, and get to know them. Part of that is like, it's such a great point, is get to understand who they are beyond business, right? What drives them? Why are they in their industry? Anyway, so I feel like you factor it in by considering it first of all and thinking about it, making it a priority to put that in your ideal customer profile, and you do that by doing some research and asking. Kamal with the killer empathy chat, I love it. Rizzle with the wild empathy, I like it too. Okay, let's keep her going. So now we got our ideal customer profile, our favorite person in the whole world, our customer taken care of. Now we can get into audit, align, assemble, and accelerate. So we have our sales process built. We have our ideal customer profile. Now we can begin the process of building our sales playbook. And these are the 4 steps that we're going to be doing. So as I mentioned, my first few jobs, I didn't have a sales playbook. I remember opening up the computer, sitting in a coffee shop, and blank page, kind of just flicking through my phone, trying to figure out, okay, what's next? Do I make a call? Who do I make a call to? Who's our customer? Do I do some research? Do I ask the founder if we have any marketing resources for something? And it was a little bit, yeah, I was just kind of frozen in time. And as a result, I'm not hitting the ground running. I'm not selling right away. And what you want to do as a founder, you don't want to have your sales reps come in and be thinking, asking questions. You want them to be asking questions, but you don't want them to be just sitting there doing nothing and having this paralysis by analysis. What you want them to be doing is hitting the ground running as soon as they get into your shop. So you want them to be selling as soon as possible, like considering a proper onboarding and training program, but you don't want them selling in month 6. You want them selling closer to day 1 as possible. So in order to get them effective and hitting the ground running, that's what the sales playbook is able to do for the sales reps and sales teams. So when we look at audit, so again, this is another worksheet that you're going to be getting. So first thing you want to do is just take a look at the purpose of your sales playbook. So when we're auditing, what is the purpose of our playbook? Are we documenting our sales process? Are we hiring a new SDR? Are we organizing a couple of people on our team that have been doing sales activities? Do we have a new product offering? Are we going up market or down market? Or is there a new sales motion? So we were on mid market, but now we're looking into enterprise sales. So in our case, we're going to be, let's say, hiring a new SDR. Super exciting. Hiring, it's always fun. So in this case, what you're going to be doing with this worksheet is having a look at some examples. So these are all examples of different elements of a sales playbook. And what you want to do is think about those examples and then bring them over into your sales resources. So what do you have right now in your current, let's say in your Google Drives, in your head, anywhere? So if we have, let's say, email templates, yeah, we have a few of those. Outbound follow-up process, yes, we do a lot of outbound sales. Sending emails, yes, we have protocols on that. Competitive analysis info, yep, let's bring that over. And so you're just going to be basically making a list of those sales resources and enablement pieces. Remember, think back to that sales process that we wrote out. You can always go back to that sales process and look at those enablement resources that you listed that you think are important for each stage of the sale, and check if you have those. So once you identify that you do have these sales resources, now we got to think about where they are. So when we're auditing them, we know that we have, let's say, email templates. That's good. Email templates. So where is it? These are actually in my inbox somewhere. When we look at, let's say, discovery call process, follow up, that's actually in a Google Drive. So once you have taken a look at the examples and some different elements of the playbook, you figure out which ones you have, you identify where they are. That's when you can start organizing your playbook and getting ready for the actual build of it. So what I recommend, you can do this in a couple different. Bye, Kamal. See you later. Thanks for joining. So now the next step is aligning it. So what I recommend, and I'll give you this template at the end as well, is creating a Google folder, call it Sales Playbook. Fairly simple. And then what you want to do is create a few subfolders. So I'm also going to give you this template for building your sales playbook that outlines all the different elements and chapters. So once you have the folder set up, then you want to add in these subfolders that are basically headings or chapters for the different elements. So you have your admin, marketing resources, sales training, demos, discovery calls, communication, that's emails, phone calls, Zoom calls, sales process, and a little bit about us. So again, recap, we're looking at what we need. We've identified what we have. We know where it is. Now we're going to start taking it from where it is and we're going to start organizing it into folders. Once it's into folders, I see your question there, Prog. I'll get it to in just a second. So once they're in folders, which is the assemble piece, now, like I mentioned before, I'm going to give you that template. So it's an outline basically that has, I think there's about 40 or 50 different elements of a sales playbook. So you don't have to have every single one. The idea is to give you an idea of what you could have in them. So then you can go back and improve and add as you grow and as you change. So what you do next is once you have all your documents organized into your folders, now it's time to put it together. So you're going to take that Google Doc that I gave you and you're going to start organizing your or start assembling your sales playbook, which is super exciting because you're starting to see it come together. So I have these kind of main headings right here, and then you have these subheadings in here. So you can just add the documents in there, get it nice and put together. You can add links, you can add screenshots, like you can copy and paste. Really, it doesn't matter what it looks like. You can always tidy it up at the end. The idea is to have a really um, a great document that's actionable, that is legible, and that the sales reps can take action from day one as soon as they see it. So if you have pricing information on your website, just link to it. You don't need to rewrite it in your playbook. If you have case studies and testimonials, you can add them directly to the playbook. So whatever is easiest for you to put in the playbook, just do it that way so you can assemble it in the best way that you can. And then the final piece is accelerate. So at the accelerate time is one of my favorite times, is that you complete your playbook, which is all exciting, and now you look at what to improve on. So in that previous example, we identified all the resources that you had from this list here. And so once your playbook is together, now you can take a look at your sales process map, your enablement resources, all the resources that you have, and then think about what you do have and what you don't have, and things that you don't have. Or maybe you have, let's say again, you have your ideal customer profile, but you haven't built out the deeper version of it. That's something you want to accelerate, you want to build on in the future. Maybe you have email templates for your outbound cadences, but you don't have anything for inbound cadences. So once you've completed it, then you kind of look at where the holes are, and then you can add those in the future. So a question, okay, Pragya, what was your question? What's the difference or resemblances between the sales playbook, CRM, and your data sheet? What do you mean by data sheet? And then I'll answer the other two. But basically, differences in your sales playbook versus your CRM. I mean, a CRM is a tool for managing that sales process and also housing all the communications and information that you have about your sales reps. You have your reporting and all that great stuff that's in your CRMs, but the CRM doesn't necessarily tell you what to do, or tell you what's the next step in the process, or gives you an idea of who your ideal customer profile is. So the sales playbook, you would add, like, let's say your CRM protocols and information about the CRM in your sales playbook, and that would be a part of your sales playbook. But the sales playbook encompasses everything involved with sales. And then, okay, that data sheet that you're referring to is info about your ICP, cadences, and updates. So it sounds like, again, a data sheet, you might grab some of that information. So if you go back to this example, you might have, so ICP, cadences, and updates, you have those resources. Where are they? They're in your data sheet. So then you add that to your sales playbook. So the difference is the playbook is the full document, ICP and data sheets are going to be part of that overall document. So sales playbooks, had a great experience with Nick. He's a founder of Give Panel. They help charities with their Facebook fundraising, which is super awesome, and had an awesome time working with him and his team. When I started with them, we didn't have a sales playbook, and what I did was I was selling, but also helping to build a playbook as we went. And it took me, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, just kept improving and adding to it. And so it took away from my sales activities, but we were building a foundation for future sales. And about 9 months into my work with them, we hired a new SDR, and we had leads for him. We had them in a CRM. We had email templates, cadences, demo recordings, discovery call recordings, sales enablement resources, and he was able to close deals within his first month working with us. And one of the reasons why he did that, because we set him up for success. We set him up so that he was able to succeed on day one with the sales playbook, with all the enablement resources that we could give him. Because at the end of the day, when you're bringing on new sales reps, they're part of your team and you want them to succeed as much as you can. And so it was really exciting that we were able to see him getting to see him. Mark, thanks for joining. Yeah, see him get to speed to sales faster than sooner than later. So really what we're looking at with this playbook is speed to sale. So getting sales reps up to speed faster, getting that, reducing that non-sales activity. And in fact, you see about 30 to 40% of sales reps' time are spent looking for sales collateral, looking for marketing, asking questions. And that means it's time away from speaking with prospects, closing deals, moving deals along from one stage to another. So what you want to do is really empower your sales reps so that all they're doing is selling and everything that they need is at their fingertips. Sweet. So we got our audit, align, assemble, accelerate, ideal customer profile at the heart of it. Let me just take a look if there's any more questions. Cool. So a couple key lessons that I had, and I did mention that there's a few, something I wanted to share with you at the very end in terms of taking your sales playbook building to the next level. But just thinking of my time working with some of the clients and building out the playbooks, some lessons that I've learned and that I've seen is that it takes a lot of time. It's um, doesn't happen overnight. As you see, there's a lot of steps in it. It could take weeks, could take months, could take a year, depending on how much time you're actually spending with it. Because if you're a founder, you have a huge long list of to-dos and there's always fires to be putting out. There's always something that takes priority. So even though it's on the to-do list, it might just keep getting bumped and bumped. And if you hand it off to somebody else, or if you're a sales rep doing it, this is again taking time away from your sales activity. So it does take a lot of time in my experience. The other piece is a lot of heavy lifting. So as you see, you might have some documents and some sales enablement resources that are currently built, but you also might have to start building them yourself. And that might take a lot of research. It might take some extra time and some extra work to put those together. So if you weren't used to building out sales cadences or email cadences, then you might have to do a lot of research on it and talk to some people and read some books on it. So there's a lot of heavy lifting involved with putting together this entire sales playbook. But I can definitely tell you that, as my buddy here, it's so worth it because, like I said, I was so proud when I was working at Give Panel when we hired our new SDR, and he was so pumped that he saw the sales playbook. He just felt so empowered and excited, and he was able to start selling right away. So when you have a sales process documented, when you have a nailed down ideal customer profile, and when you're able to build out that sales playbook, it's so worth it because it really just grows your sales. It helps your sales team. It also lays a foundation for future repeatable, scalable sales. So you're probably thinking, okay, let's get her going. We're going to start from scratch. So like I said, you're going to have all the webinar recording. You're going to have all the worksheets. You're going to have the templates that are available. And like I said, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some heavy lifting, but that's some good news. It is kind of step by step by step, but somebody like me who's been there, I've climbed the stairs many times, sitting at the top of the stairs. I know the different steps. I know how to kind of go efficiently from one step to another to another. And myself and my team of technical writers, we're super excited about building sales playbooks. And what we wanted to offer everybody in the audience who wants to build their webinar or build their sales playbook sooner than later, this special offer of building your sales playbook in 30 days. So you think of going through the one-on-one calls or the sales mapping, the ideal customer profile, the actual sales playbook building. We have a process that we're able to put it together in 30 days for you. And we've done that with tons of different clients. And not only that, but I'd love to add a few extra things because I think everybody here has been awesome and and appreciate the time that you've been here. So everything, the webinar package that we're giving out, $750 value, you're obviously getting that for free. That's no problem. What I also want to include in this 30-day sales playbook build is a one-on-one process mapping and coaching with myself as well as building out a SDR hiring playbook for you and the team. We have a founders Facebook group with a bunch of like-minded founders that are looking to grow and scale their sales teams, that are focused on founder-led sales, and small teams, let's say 1, 2, 3 sales reps that are either full-time or part-time. Again, we get this build for you, work with technical writers to make a nice, awesome sales playbook for you. During that sales process of mapping, you get my expertise, our team expertise of building sales playbooks, as well as a sales onboarding or an SDR onboarding playbook. So when you are growing your team, you're able to have a playbook for training and onboarding as they grow. So, I mean, all of this is a pretty big package. Typically, we'd sell it for around $8,600, but everybody here is awesome, and we're not selling for 8,600 bucks. What we want to do is package this all up. So, a sales playbook build plus all these extras for 3,500 bucks. And we have typically what we do is 10 clients each month. We do have a few people that are already on the bus, and we have about, I think there's 5 clients already for next month, so we have spot for 5 more. So if you're interested, there is a offer. You can see it in the chat there. You could say it says get offer now. If you take a look at it, you click on it, you go through a little type form, and you're able to register and claim your spot for a sales playbook build with myself and my team, including the everything in the webinar today, the SDR hiring playbook, and a bunch of other extras. So jump into that offer if you want to be on our team and join us in our next month of playbook building. And really appreciate everybody here. It was such an awesome time chatting with you all and spending this hour with you, and I really appreciate your time. And I hope to see you building somewhere very, very soon. Any questions that anybody has? I'll stay on for a few more minutes. I know we're over the hour. Some people have to go to meetings. If you have any questions, still throw them in the chat. We'll stick around to have a look at them. If not, enjoy the day. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.